So today is the 17th, and I have been cleaning my room a lot. I have been trying to get everything dusted and vacuumed, and I flipped the mattress. I've been doing laundry. I did dishes. I did a bunch of scrounging around and made sure I had all my stuff together that's for going to be needed for surgery. For my physical therapy, I've got squeeze ball. That's going to be for this hand, actually. This hand. And then on top of the stress ball, I've got two hand grip. Um, Here, one second. I'm just going to get that and show you. Alrighty. Stuff that I've got. Okay. So I've got the stress ball for physical therapy for my hand. And then I've got two different grades of these hand grippers. This one's super easy. The yellow and the blue one's a little stiffer. And I've got a couple of back scratchers because I'm gonna have to be flat. My roommate gave me a whistle to whistle for her when I want something. So funny. I have some uh compression sleeves for my arm for later. At first I can't use these, but later these help a lot with reducing swelling and stuff like that. And then I have a little baby, you know, 1 pound weight for physical therapy stuff. I also have some stretch bands, but they're not in this bag right here. Bag down. But I have a wedge pillow because, I have to exactly be at 30 degrees or lower of an angle. I don't usually watch a lot of like TVs and movies very much, but I'm thinking I'm going to get a subscription service to something because right now we only have two things and I'm going to be laying there and I realized I'm not going to be able to play a ton of video games like I normally would because this arm here is going to be in like wound bandages and stuff like that, so I'm not going to be able to like lean it on a desk to rest my hand to play video games. I thought about, oh well, maybe I could get like the PlayStation controller out or something, and then I realized I'm still going to be using my left hand for that, and so I don't want to mess up physical therapy stuff, so I'm going to have to ask about that. My roommate was like, oh, I can get my Switch out and you can just play Zelda, and I was like, can I though? I need to find out. I've already had two appointments this week, maybe three, something like that, and had to sign like 5 pages of stuff, saying, yeah, I'm good for surgery. Obviously, my test results came back well because, they would have canceled surgery, but also, how would they not have? Um, it's been, just a bunch of stuff, and then work and hanging out with like friends and family. People really have been following through with the hanging out with me before surgery thing, and I'm very touched by that. That actually means a lot to me that people have been doing that. But yeah, I'm trying to get myself situated because I'm realizing I'm gonna be like watching a lot of stuff, and I'm not even sure how much I'm gonna be able to read books because I'm not gonna be able to lean my left arm against anything. On top of that, they went over some of the stuff for in the hospital that I thought maybe could help someone who might ever maybe be considering this kind of surgery, whether you're intersex or you're trans or non-binary, or maybe you're a person who something got damaged at some point. I mean, technically, phalloplasty was originally invented for military men whose phalluses were blown off during like battle and stuff. So, in case anyone is curious or wants to know about it, um, some of my pre-op appointment discussions and stuff, I figured maybe someone would want to know some of these things. So one of the things is you are allowed to sit um, very little. So coming out of the hospital, someone has to take you. You cannot come out of the hospital by yourself, and the seat needs to be leaned way back because you can't sit like straight up. Your phallus needs to be kept at a 90-degree angle from at least one hip at all times. It's a very fragile connection. And so it takes a while for it to heal and to get happy. And because of that, it's super important for you to basically be as flat as possible or else standing straight up as much as possible. Like those are the two positions you're allowed to be in. There's not really sitting down. And because of all of that, there's a lot of things that you have to avoid. And for instance, you've got to really, really need to go to the bathroom before you sit down on the toilet. No, just sitting there and waiting. No, like sitting in a bathtub or something like that. You're also not really going to be able to take a shower correctly. So at first, it's going to be sponge bathing, which we usually do with wipies when I've had surgeries before. You do still get a little stinky, but it's better than nothing. I'm going to wash my whole bedding the day before surgery so that when I get home from surgery, it'll be like all fresh bedding and, nice and not stinky and stuff like that because I'm going to have to lay in it like constantly for a while. And, when you're healing, for some reason, you get a weird smell. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a mix between sweat and something else I don't know how to explain. But when you're healing and you've got like surgical scars or wounds, there's just this odd smell that you get. Um, on top of that, there's going to be, while I'm at the hospital for at least a week, there's going to be, the little electro wires going up into the phallus and things like that and stuff. My arm's going to be in this weird cloud thing. They're going to make clouds of gauze for around my phallus and keep it in this little tripod, stuff like that. But on top of that, they are going to check once an hour, every hour for the first 24 hours, the phallus, in case it needs to be rushed back to surgery. And then for the next 48 hours, it'll be once every 2 hours. And then after that, for the next whole day, it'll be every 4 hours. So basically, I'm not going to get very good sleep at all while I'm in the hospital because nurses are going to constantly be coming and poking and prodding me. Um, I know it's for my benefit, but also usually when I have surgery, I just like try to sleep so much, especially at first. My body just wants to sleep. So this is going to be an adventure. Um, One of the main things is since I do have to keep myself like straightened up and everything, they're going to have physical therapists like start with me almost immediately. But part of the physical therapy is for my arm, for left hand, de-swelling, learning how to use it without the blood vessels, so on and so forth. But also part of it is going to be like keeping my phallus happy and everything. So I have to keep my hips as straight as possible with my legs as straight as possible when I'm getting up and down. And the way to do that apparently is they want me to start practicing getting up and down from like a bed or a laying down position while moving my left leg and maybe twisting my left side a little bit, but keeping my right leg and my right hip as straight as possible. So that's going to be interesting. And they said they're going to show me how to do it for sure while I'm in the hospital, like almost immediately. But that if I want to try practicing it some for these few days before surgery happens, that's probably a good plan. So that's going to be something I'm going to try to figure out how to do. Um, they said that your arm that you take from for skin grafting, which I really hope this keeps healing up because it's supposed to be fully healed by surgery and it definitely has some speckles still. Um, I need to be putting a little more lotion on it or whatever. Um, that the opposite side, so this is a left arm. So the right hip is the hip that it's most likely going to be that they're attaching a lot of stuff on that side. So it's most important to do the opposite hip to what the arm is, as the most still or kept rigid part. But once I'm laying down, I can bend my knees like all the way, like sitting cross-legged. Um, so hooking your ankles and stuff like that, having your knees spread, none of that is going to affect anything apparently. What does affect things is getting up and down in anything bending at all, especially around your hips. And keeping your legs straight helps with keeping the hips straight. So that's going to be interesting. The uh, surgery itself, while I'm in the hospital, they said that I'm just going to be in a gown and hospital socks the whole time I'm there. But when I go to leave, I'm going to have a very erect phallus, you know. And so they were like, please bring some sort of sweatpants or something really, really loose. And I was like, oh, how about I was just bring pajama bottoms? And they're like, that's perfect. So the pajama bottoms have a drawstring. They do not have any like bungee or zipper or anything like that. The underwear that they start you out with are made out of like gauze stuff. They're like fake underwear or whatever, and they cut a hole in it. And when they cut the hole, then it makes enough space for the phallus, and then they wrap it in gauze, and it's like a cloud of gauze to keep the phallus like safe. And eventually it'll be able to be at less than a 90-degree angle, but it will still keep getting set on this like cloud of gauze for a pretty long while. um it just won't be fully wrapped in the gauze once it's not at 90 degrees. But the physical therapy for my hand and stuff starts pretty early on. I wasn't expecting to start that quickly. They made really clear that it's a long recovery process, and that the most frustrating part for people a lot of the time is not the pain, but it's the recovery time. And so I'm really relieved that summer quarter won't count against me as far as college goes. If anyone's a college student and you're considering phalloplasty or whatever, try to have it scheduled to where you can take spring quarter off, because summer quarter doesn't count for your financial aid situation. And so if you have complications or it needs to run longer and you can't register for summer classes, it's okay. It still counts as you only taking one quarter off for medical leave. And for both of the colleges I'm enrolled at, I'm still considered a full-time student, and my enrollment status and my financial aid status is not adversely affected by taking a quarter off for medical leave. Now, if you do 2 quarters, then they start to have to shift some stuff, but summer doesn't count. So if anyone's a college student and you're considering, even if you're considering maybe not phalloplasty but metoidoplasty or something, or top surgery or whatever it is, if you're gonna have to take a quarter off for some sort of recovery, just know that summer doesn't count against you. That's very helpful. As far as, I mean, obviously ask your school. Don't take that as a fact for every college in the entire country and every state, but it seems to be a pretty normal thing, since both of the colleges, the college I'm at and the university I'm at, both of them had the exact same thing to say on that matter. Thankfully, I've got a little money saved up, so if it does run over into summer for my recovery time and I can't go back to work right away or something, thank goodness. I try to be a planner. My surgical team love me because they're like, oh, we know you already know this and you already know this, like I tell them stuff that I'm doing and they're like, we're not surprised at all. you know I try to be aware of stuff and thinking about how to best go about making this as nice for myself and not difficult for myself as I can. I cannot recommend enough for surgical recovery a wedge pillow. This wedge pillow has been with me through some other surgeries, and here it is once again. And my wedge pillow, it's adjustable, like it can come apart and turn into different shapes of wedge, and it actually has a 30-degree angle wedge. And I'm like, oh my god, thank goodness. So cannot recommend enough having a wedge pillow for surgical recoveries, and then some sort of back scratcher, because you're going to be laying there, and for instance, I'm only going to have one good arm, and I'm going to be itchy and I have to hold still and I can use the little back scratcher to scratch my leg or whatever it is. And it really helps a lot. And then, yeah, have something, some show that you can watch. And if you fall asleep or something, it's not really going to affect you. For some reason, I tend to binge watch things like Survivor or The Amazing Race or stuff like that. And if I fall asleep, oh well, I'll wake up an episode later or whatever, however much it is, and I'll be like, okay, it's not like a life changing amount of storyline happened, and I can still follow things. And if I really can't, I can go back an episode or two. Um, but yeah, that's where things are at the moment. I probably won't record tomorrow since I recorded today. I probably will record, maybe, we'll see, but probably at least once more before surgery actually happens next Thursday. But yeah, that's where things are at the moment. So, in case anyone wanted to know any of these sorts of little tidbits, the the surgery itself will happen, and then I'll be in the hospital for a week right before I leave. There'll be a little mini surgery. I'll go home for 5 days, come back for a checkup appointment thing, and then at the very end of May, I'll come back for a skin graft surgery, and they'll do another little mini surgery on me. And so real recovery won't be until the middle of June at the earliest, where I can start doing not bedridden, like maybe start doing, I'm hoping, some sort of like an online course or some online work, something like that. But we'll see. And that's if there's no complications. So, but yeah, I'm really excited. I'm so happy again about my microsurgeon being able to do what I originally wanted done in the first place. And things are looking really good. My team are so great. I really love them a lot. And yeah, that's where things are at with surgery at the moment. Almost here. Oh my gosh.